4 wins from 4, 3 wins from 3 in the league, Jerry Taggart. You cannot ask for much more than that. And it came late, but it doesn't matter how it comes.
Yeah, yet again. Let's strike. Great play. Again, really good play. Great work from Jamie Vardy inside the box. And, the new guy, Cassidy, he's in the right spot. He's in the box. Which, you were going through his record in the Under-20 World Cup, scored 7 goals, I think you said, and that. And again, he showed he was in the box, yes. All he had to do was, swing his boot at it, and it was in. But you've got to be in there.
Be there.
Matt Frett will tell you that. You've got to make sure, as a forward player, you've got to be in those kind of areas when it's all kicking off. And he was. And again, just, incredible scenes yet again here at King Power Stadium.
It's a winning mentality, isn't it? Sometimes you're not at your best, not vintage or what we've seen in the previous games in terms of silky play, dominating. Not too many chances, actually, from a Leicester perspective in the second half. But right at the death, you go and pinch the game, you go and nick it, and then builds even more momentum. Obviously, undefeated, 4 victories, 3 in the league, and then you build from that. And what an impression. Your debut game and you go and score the winner in the dying seconds. What a way to introduce yourself to the Leicester faithful.
Yeah, there's some start, Jerry, really, to his Leicester career. It might only be 1 season, but whatever. It's a brilliant way to start, as Matty says.
No, listen, you don't forget moments like that. It's as simple as that. And obviously, to score the winner, scoring on your debut is something special anyway. Just playing your debut is something special. You never ever forget it, but to score the winner in the dying moments in injury time.
Was it a penalty, do you think? Had it maybe not been?
Well, I'm just listening to Matt there, and he and Guy and they were saying, well, the referee had turned the penalty away, and obviously we don't have VAR in the Championship, so it's hard to say. There was a lot of bodies in there. There was definitely a shout for it. Vardy does go to ground. I think he does great. Again, Jamie Vardy does great again. He comes off the bench, gives everybody a lift. Leicester, start pushing it that extra 5% once Vardy is on the pitch and get the rewards for that. But yeah, listen, there was definitely a shout for the penalty, but it didn't matter. As I said, as a forward player, you've got to be in those kind of areas at crucial moments in the games. And young Cassidy, bang, he was there, and bang, did he sink that ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, I mean, he said in his interview that when he spoke to Fox's Hub, and we played it before the game, that he's a box-for-box midfielder, loves to score goals. As Jerry said, all those goals in the Under-20 World Cup from midfield. You can see why he gets so many from midfield, just in that 20, 30-minute cameo we saw. Yeah,
he was tidy in possession. Even when he came on, he looked to receive the ball, looked to get into them areas, and then late on you're breaking into the box. And sometimes you can say it's luck, but how many times has he entered into the box? And then eventually one does fall, and then it's a tidy finish in the end, roof of the net. But you keep on arriving, eventually one will fall, and it was just meant to be sort of thing, just timed it right on cue. And then what a way to start for a debut, and to come in and then get the winning goal. It's a fantastic way for him, and yeah, hopefully the first of many.
Matt Elliott, obviously you're sat in the press box for us. You enjoyed that co-commentary. What was the atmosphere like at full time there? I imagine 4 wins from 4 at the start of the season. Fans are absolutely loving it at the moment.
But I think they were pretty quiet, really, getting a little bit of grief off the Cardiff fans from not being too vocal. But there wasn't too much to shout about. The majority of the game was there. Flurry after the opening goal from Marcel, 2 or 3 opportunities there, and Leicester got some fire in their bellies, shall we say, and so did the supporters. But then that became not a damp squib, but it got muffled in the second half. There wasn't too much to get enthused about. But right at the end, that goal came out of nowhere, really, didn't it? I mean, I said sort of halfway through that second half that perhaps Leicester, perhaps hoping for rather than expecting, but Leicester perhaps taking the sting out of the game a little bit, because Cardiff had come back into it after a bit of sloppiness from the Foxes, and then perhaps grind the result out later on. As it turned out, that was the case, but it wasn't in convincing manner, was it? But the supporters, they'd erased that previous 87 minutes aside from that flurry in the first half, from their minds. All of a sudden, it was all about the here and now, and Cassidy converting on his debut. 3 wins out of 3 in the league, 4 in total. You know, sounds good, looks good. It is good, isn't it? And the supporters were in full voice come the end of it. Some of them still hanging around now, sampling the atmosphere.
And you don't blame him, Jerry, do you really?
No.
When we know what happened last season, it was heartbreaking, really, and there was many moments throughout the season where there was a lot of disappointment. So to start the season the way they have, the fans have got to enjoy these moments.
Yeah, and listen, I think, you know, Matt sort of summarised the game. You know, a bit of frustration. It's not the best Leicester have played this season, but when you score a winning goal in injury time like that, to send everybody home on an absolute high upon high. I mean, you know, there's an argument to say it's the best way to win, rather than, you know, trouncing a team 5 or 6-0. You know, they actually, you know, win the game in the dying moments, when everybody in the ground probably thinks it's going to end up 1-1. I mean, it's just incredible scenes, and it's not the first time, you know, we've seen it here.
Yeah, only 2 teams then at the start of the season with 100% records. That's Leicester and Ipswich in this division, of course. It's what Leicester need to do. They just need to keep winning their games. It's as simple as that, Jerry.
Yeah, you know, and on the flip side, which I'm glad you came back to me, because it just shows you again that Leicester have the stamina to keep going right till the very end. You know, Cardiff in the last 15-20 minutes, okay, they had a couple of chances that a bit on, we're just seeing one now, where the guy's gone through one-on-one. I'll be honest with you, I didn't fancy him as soon as he received the ball, but Leicester kept pushing and pushing and pushing right till the very end, and in the end got the rewards for it.
They did, and that's what you need. Obviously you get punished for not taking your chances. Cardiff did have, especially that one where he's through one-on-one, he'd be looking back at that one and thinking, well, if only that were to be. But then Leicester kept on grinding. It wasn't pretty, and kept on going, as Jerry said, right until the end. And that's what teams that are going to be at the top, you're going to grind it out. The Championship isn't always pretty. I know Leicester played some pretty football, attractive for the opening few games, but this was more of a grind. It wasn't as controlled as what we've seen over the past couple of weeks, but to just win it at the end is a great feeling. It's another one ticked off, heading in the right direction at the top end of the table, and sort of the team to beat. But Cardiff can feel a little bit unlucky, and perhaps on their day, if they'd taken them chances, it may have been different. But Leicester showed a different side of it today, which you need, especially if it's going to be a successful season. Yeah,
that's an important point, Matt, I think, isn't it, that Matty makes, that you're not going to play really well in every single game, but if you can grind out the results, just really as they've done in all 3 league games, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, I mentioned with Guy and the commentary, Leicester are going to need different sort of departments of their game or their team squad to come to the fore at different times in the season. It's not all going to be free flowing. There's times we're going to have to dig deep and get down and dirty to a degree, and you know, everyone's got to muck in and play their part, as they did today, as they did without a doubt. I think you know, already at this early stage of the season, you're seeing contributions and impacts from different individuals. I don't think Leicester at the moment, you know, individuals may prove me wrong, I don't think Leicester at the moment have too many players with, you know, gold dust as such, who are going to take the league by storm themselves in terms of creating and definitely scoring, you know, absolute hatfuls, the likes of a Mitrovic, whichever. Of course, Vardy has the potential to bag more than his fair share, but you know, limited game time at the moment. But it's going to be a collective, isn't it? Very much so. And I think Leicester have already shown the benefits, the merits of the squad that they've got. And if anything, I think they're going. Yeah, I think the intention is to add to it as well, isn't it? Because they did look a little bit short. I mean, there's numerous reasons why certain people maybe not in the squad. But perhaps a little bit short on the bench in terms of options to bring on. Vardy was the only out-and-out attacking player, but Casady did not too bad, didn't he, in the end, with his involvement. But they look to have a good all-round feel about the squad, don't they? There's solidity there, there's quality, especially again at this level, at the risk of repeating myself. But you know, even with all those attributes, they're going to have to dig very deep on numerous occasions throughout the course of the season, because you know a lot's happened in those 3 games already. Now you've got another 43 to go.
Yeah.
So that focuses your mind.
I think on the back of that as well, Matt, every game that Leicester go into, you know, they're going to be considered the favourites, and you've seen it last week, not so much against Coventry, but especially last week and again today, where you've got 10 outfield players sat behind the ball, making it difficult, trying to condense the space, and then trying to basically play on the counter attack. And so for Leicester, with this new style of football, you know, playing on the front foot, trying to control the game, move through the thirds, it becomes a little bit more difficult when you've got 10 men behind the ball, who all these opposition teams are doing is working from day to day over the period of a week and trying to stop Leicester playing the football, so it just makes it that little bit more difficult. And that's why it makes it so much more pleasing when you pop up with a winner in injury time, because all that hard work, all that this implementing this new style of football, it all makes it worthwhile when things like this happen, like it did today.
Of course, on top of that as well, you look at it and there is room for improvement today with moving the ball.
Yeah.
It was slow at times. There's patience, but it could just have been moved a little bit quicker, more on terms of the pass than movement around the ball. But even when you're not at your best and you get the result, it doesn't matter. But seeing what the manager's like and what the players are saying and everything coming out from the dressing room, they can see there's more to add on that. And today, even though they weren't at the best, managed to get all important 3 points and keep on building and adding to that. But certainly there's stuff to improve on. It was a little bit sloppy at times, but like Jerry said, this team's Cardiff gave everything. They worked the socks off and it still wasn't enough. Huge game for them, and Leicester again expected to win, and that's a difficult pressure to deal with. And they weren't at the best, but managed to get the 3 points, which you'd rather have that than going, we're playing well every single week and not picking anything up. So you can look at that in 2 ways, but again, all in all, it's 3 points and again, feeling good about themselves.
I think, you know, if you're a player, you're rubbing your hands. You know, who wouldn't want to play a football like Enzo Maresca wants you to play?
Yeah.
I mean, it must be great going into training every day, you know, touching, feeling the ball, literally 100% of the time, going out onto the pitch, trying to implement his style of football. It's a fantastic way to play football as a professional footballer. And so you have to enjoy these moments. And I'm just going back to what Matty Fred said about, you know, when you're in possession and being sloppy. And the players have to remember that, you know. There's lots of different ways to play a game of football, but I would say this has got to be the most enjoyable way you'll ever play football as a professional. So enjoy and love every minute of it, because it doesn't always happen.
Matt Elliott, who's your man of the match today for us?
I thought I got away with that. A guy didn't ask me. I've had a little bit of time to consider. I don't think there were too many candidates, really. Do you know who I'd go for? I thought had a decent game after a little bit of an iffy start. Was Callum Doyle. I thought he got himself involved in the game as best as possible. Tried to sort of change the flow of the game a bit. Got himself forward. Got balls into the box. Trying to link up with Mavididi. Didn't always come off. He had a strike that the keeper saved. Tipped round the post, didn't he? And I just like the look of him today. I feel for him a little bit, because I don't think he's a natural left back, but he does as best a job as possible. But I like watching him on the ball. He's got something a little bit different. He had that little sort of semi-disguised pass. There's the first semi of the day, Batesy, for you. The disguised pass that just got nicked by O'Dowda, that nearly found its way through to Mavididi. That was clever, especially for a donkey centre half. And yeah, I thought I thought he just about got the nod over no one else in particular for me.
Well, you got some nods in the studio, particularly from you, Matty. You agree that Callum Doyle had a good game today?
Yeah, I think so. You're looking at up against a tricky opponent in Bowler. I think he's a really good player. Sort of kept him quiet, and he was taken off second half. And then obviously Doyle even showed his attacking intent. He had that one where the keeper makes a good save, and then he's even tried to curl one into the far left. And first and foremost, what I like about him, he defends. Yes, he's got a lovely left foot, but he's no nonsense, and he dealt well with a tricky opponent. And yeah, there could be maybe Winks. Winks is always involved in it, but I wouldn't disagree with Callum Doyle, and I do like him in terms of his steadiness as well, and probably what Matt said, he's probably more suited as the left-sided centre-back, but you can he shows his versatility, and nearly managed to get a goal as well.
Yeah, again, you know, he's a young lad coming into professional football as a left-back when he's probably a centre-half, let's face it. And in all the games I've seen, he's done well, and today, as you said, he's got involved, he's had a good shot, tipped round the corner.
Unfortunately not to score, actually.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's been involved in a few good moves down that left-hand side today. And as Matty says, you know, defensively, looking at one or two things that happened today, you got to say he's probably the most reliable out of the three at the moment. You know, when it comes to especially 1v1s as well, he does really well and has done really well in 1v1 situations. Which again, a centre half playing left back, it's not easy, believe you me. I've been there once or twice in the past, and it's not a position that centre halves are used to playing or like playing.
When you look at every single one of the signings made this summer so far, but there may be more. Obviously, we've still got another couple of weeks to go until the transfer window closes. Every single one looks like it's good at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's the most important thing. You know, there's been a lot of coming and going. I haven't even mentioned that side in regards to the dynamic of the dressing room, in regards to the players who are still here but aren't playing, and you're talking about seasoned international footballers, by the way, not just young lads who are trying to break in. So the dynamic of the dressing room, who you bringing into the club to add value to the dynamic, the personality, the atmosphere in the dressing room, because that's an important factor as well. Make no mistake about that. So yeah, it's a difficult tightrope to walk, but as you said at the minute, I think Enzo's got it absolutely spot on.
One way, Matt Elliott, to endear yourself to a new team and to new fans is to score a 92nd, 93rd minute winner, which is exactly what Cesare did off the bench today. How impressed were you with his half an hour?
Yeah, I thought he was pretty steady coming onto the pitch. He looked like he was busting the gut to get out there. He wanted to get in the mix, get involved. You could sort of sense it in his body language, really. But even he wouldn't have foreseen his fortune being as good as it was. But it fell to him nicely, didn't it? But he tucked it away very nicely indeed himself. So, but I wouldn't say it was written in the stars, but you could see that he wanted to make an impression. He wasn't sort of just happy to be here and thinking, oh, maybe it's not Leicester's day, and I'll just slowly integrate myself and do it for 30 minutes, whatever it was. And he was put on with a purpose by the manager. You could see him sort of cajoling him on the sideline as if to say, go on, son, make an impact. Go and show people what you're about. And I think to a degree, he did that. Got himself in the box. Yeah, spoken about his athleticism, his ability to be up and down the pitch, etc. But he looked comfortable on the ball. Didn't do anything spectacular, but looked comfortable in his surroundings, and then ultimately provided the difference in the game. And gets himself in the box. He's a fair size as well. I don't know what he's like aerially, but you imagine he'd get on the end of. He'd certainly give incentive to people out wide to put the ball in the box a little bit more, and I think he's got a fair bit to offer. But today was boyhood hero, boyhood dream stuff. What's the terminology? What's it called, Batesy?
I don't know, a bit of a...
Just keep ranting, Matt. They've only got 7 minutes left. You crack on, kid.
I can't, the stuff of dreams anyway. I don't know about the boyhood thing, where that came in, but yeah, listen, he'd be absolutely delighted. It will help him through the extra work he's doing on the pitch now in front of us all the substitutes. Cassidy involved as well, included Jamie Vardy. Only had 20 minutes or so. Being an elderly, stately gentleman, he's been. Oh, the Tannoy's gone. I'm sorry. He's been allowed to just rest, put his feet up after his exertions this afternoon.
I'm just going to say on the back of that, he just went off on a tangent. Matthew. And I was only joking about keep ramping on for 7 minutes,
right,
Matt.
sorry,
I was
sorry.
only joking.
I thought it was producer's orders, sorry.
But I'll go back to Cassidy when he came on and looked as if he had a purpose. Similarly, when Jamie Vardy comes on, he comes on with a purpose. It's no nonsense. Bang, I've got to get into the game quickly. And Cassidy, you've seen him straight away, is a pass appreciation, the pace on his passing, the only little things. Okay, but I pick up on them straight away. So he's come on and he's got a real purpose. He knows what he wants to do. And he's still a young lad as well, inexperienced relatively. But that's a really good sign. Coming on, thinking, right, bang, let's get into this game. Let's try and move this team forward. And that's what I seen he brought to the team today.
You did say that actually, because obviously when we get to sit next to each other, watch the game, you said straight away, I think he made a pass, didn't he? 20-yard pass, you said you liked it.
But he meant it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You see a lot of passes going on and they're just stroking it with no real purpose. He come on and he passed the ball with purpose. And that's really good to see. And I know it's only a little thing, but that sort of tells you a little bit about what the thinking is behind that. And so it's a really good sign.
With Leicester, mainly had the ball, didn't they, really, when Cassidy came on. Cardiff were looking to see out for a draw. So we didn't get to see too much of his box-to-box endeavours, but from what we did see, it's very promising for the season.
Yeah, he's a good size as well, isn't he? Not in terms of... Well, he might be a heading type player, get into the box, and that might be part of his game, but physically, in terms of his legs, looks like long-legged running, can stride forward. So that looks positive as well in terms of the height. You always sort of want bigger players in the Championship, I feel. I know the style Enzo Maresca's going for is a little bit different from that. It's more about with the ball and everything's short. But at the same time, I think Jerry said at the start of the programme, you need that size just to... So I think the lad who came on for Cardiff he looked tiddly compared to next to him, as if he was brushed off, and just mentally more than anything. But as Jerry said, he came on with intent, and when you want to change a game, you're asking for your substitutes to impact it, whether it being Jamie Vardy, Cassidy, whoever comes on. Can you make an impression? And that's what happened. As much as he wasn't spectacular, I know he got his rewards and was the winner in the end, but just with a little bit of purpose, intent to it, and saying, I'm ready, I might up the tempo, I might make a difference. And that's what you want, and it takes a squad. It's not just the 11 that are out there. Some of the ones who aren't even involved at the minute, they might come into the fore.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot, and it's a grueling season, obviously 46 games in a relentless league as well.
But we've seen a really good start, 3 wins from 3 though, Matt. Obviously, it's another week until that next game. Rotherham away, they've only picked up 1 point from their opening 3, and then Hull after that before the international break. Without looking too far ahead, obviously Leicester will fancy their chances maybe in those 2 games.
Yeah, of course they will, rightly so. You know, with the wins they've got and the players they've got, manager, etc., everything about the club, you've got to fancy yourself in this division. And the way they've started, it's got the ball rolling. You looked at the fixtures and thought, yeah, favourable to open the campaign with. Easier said than done, picking up the points, but they managed to do it so far. And you know, privately they won't be shouting the odds, but privately they'll be expecting to carry that on in the next couple of fixtures and beyond that. You know, that's the standards that are necessary, not that need to be set, but or are being set. You know, to Leicester City in this division need to be a major force, don't they? And I think they need to make that statement that they have done to a degree already, but they'll be looking to enhance that side of things even more. You know, create a bigger reputation week in, week out, so that issue that you and the boys have just mentioned about, you know, being a target, being a cup final for opposition teams, turns into a little bit of intimidation from Leicester. They play, if they keep themselves going, ticking over, improving, and 1 or 2 additions, possibly by next week or the end of the window, they come along on top of what's already existing. They can become formidable opposition, and teams, rather than setting their stall out and giving their all and fancying their chances in a one-off game, they'll be going into the game not beaten already. That's too much of an exaggeration, but with a little bit of an inferiority complex, and Leicester can turn that pressurised situation into their favour.
Just finally, Jerry, obviously we spoke about last season, obviously results not going their way. Obviously there was weeks where there might have been a couple of defeats and mood maybe at the training ground wasn't great. They'll be bouncing him, won't they, to Seagrave at the moment? Absolutely.
And well, you say that obviously all depends on the manager and his meetings, but you can't help, you go into every season, especially at the beginning of the season, with an air of trepidation. It's just human nature, because you haven't played football for 2 or 3 months, whatever it is. So to come out after the first couple of weeks with 4 wins and 2 competitions under your belt, you can't help but feel confident in what you're doing and what you're trying to do. As we keep saying, this is a brand new system, and lots of people are learning new things all the time, even seasoned, experienced players. And at the minute, things are going really well, so they should be feeling confidence should be high. But as Matt's already mentioned, there's 43 more grillers to get out of the way.
It's a long old season, yeah. We've got plenty more coming up for you on Fox's Hub over the coming week or so. On Monday evening, as ever, we'll have our extra time review show for you, where we'll be speaking about another Leicester City victory. And then next week, Rotherham away is the next game in the Championship, so Leicester will be looking to make it 4 wins from 4 or 5 from 5 in all competitions at the start of this season. Big thank you to Matt Elliott, who's on co-commentary for us. Thanks as well to Matty Fryatt and to Jerry Taggart for their company today on what's been another very, very good afternoon at the start of this new season for the Foxes. Goodbye.